All right. So, start this like we do every other fucking episode where I call it a number and a different name. So, welcome to episode 95 of the Happy Fun Time Movie Cast.
It's changing the name daily.
Yeah. I honestly don't remember what fucking... I think this is episode 5.
I don't know. I don't know if I ever uploaded the file to the last time because you never asked for it. So
you didn't. I just looked, actually.
I usually just wait for you to ask for it, and then I'll send it to your way.
Just fucking put it up automatically. What the hell's it gonna hurt?
Because I think it has like a timer. Remember, I sent it to you before, and then you're like, hey, give me the thing.
That.
So anyway,
if you go into the settings for the file, you can change it so it's not time locked.
Okay.
You can also just email it to me there, and then it'll stay there forever. But anyway, this is a great way to start a podcast. We're talking about how terrible we are, like coordinating the podcast.
Yeah, my hand smells like stink bug. That's something.
So you were masturbating?
Yes. Do you guys have stink bugs up there? Like, I don't know what...
Yeah, they're fucking all over this room. We can't stand it. Like, they show up out of nowhere.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know if that was just like
they materialize out of nowhere.
It's
like...
fucking... Like, I went to turn off the faucet in the sink and, smashed one by accident. I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, stink bugs, I am convinced, materialize out of their own... like pocket universe.
They just everywhere.
They show up out of fucking nowhere. Like, I'm looking at my window right now and I don't see any stink bugs, but I know that subconsciously there's at least 12 of them somewhere in that window frame.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to see them until I'm trying to go to sleep and I hear that sound.
Yeah, and it'll fucking ding against something because they're so fucking stupid they'll run into a wall and just
They're
fall.
the Mr. Magoo of fucking bugs. It's like, come on, if you're going to fly somewhere, at least coordinate.
It's fucking awful. God help
I can't
if you
stand
kill
it.
one.
Let
me get some sandpaper to get the stink off my fingers. Is that what it's going to take? I got to wait for this skin to die.
Dude, get a piece of steel soap or whatever. That gets rid of sense.
Yeah, fuck it. Yeah, they're awful. But stink bugs aside, what you been up to?
Living that Lorenzo Lamas life, fucking working. I went through and finally mastered and edited all the the back episodes, except for the one that you didn't upload. I got to go through and do that one, but I went through and did all of those, only to have Premiere shit out while I was sleeping
womp womp.
And not actually render them right. But luckily, the Premiere part of everything now only takes 2 seconds.
Okay.
So after we're done this, I got to go through, put the fade in, fade out, all that shit, and then I'm just gonna bulk upload everything and set it I was gonna space it so it'd be 1 apart, but at that point we'd have almost a month and a half worth of shit. So I think I'm just gonna do one for Monday, one for Friday, one for that Monday, and then
just do them weekly or whatever.
Shit like that. But anyway,
like normal
welcome to
podcasts.
episode 5. Welcome to episode 5. We are 3.5 minutes into this episode, and so far we've just talked about bugs and my inability to edit things properly. So, I've just been working.
Same.
Playing
work.
Division. Still fucking playing Division. I beat the shit out of that game. I'm doing the end game grind content now, which is surprisingly fun. What else? Phoenix Wright came out. Mari's been playing that because I picked it up. She'd never played him before. So
I've only ever played the first one through. I've started the second one. I don't think I've ever finished it though.
You should pick up the trilogy. It's granted it's $30, but it's 3 games, and those games can run pretty long for what are essentially, books that you're reading and playing through.
They're interactive story. Probably the closest thing to a visual novel, I guess, that I've played. I don't know if you'd really want to count that as a visual novel.
I would. I mean, it has some interactive elements to it, but I mean, it's basically a visual novel in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can get all those. Those are on everything. I think it's on the Switch, the Xbox, the PlayStation, Linux, the BlackBerry, Nokia 9200 Snake phone. I don't know. Yeah, it's $30 for that. The N-Gage. Yeah. They only got the first one. It graphically couldn't handle the second game.
God, I'd believe it too.
I own an N-Gage. It's somewhere around here.
I kind of want one just for
No, you don't.
Just for the collection, you know.
No,
just
no,
to have
it.
it.
Trust me. I look at it and I often wonder why I gave that person at that flea market $2 for it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Nothing really exciting has been happening. Just the slow, maddening descent into summer and how I fucking hate summer because I'm fat.
Right there with you. Sweat.
Except for the fat part, you're not there with me.
I sweat so bad. It's awful.
It's god awful. But Otacon's coming up in not really. I guess it would be a few months at this point because we're in April, so it'd be May, June. It's the end of July, so yeah, a few months. Otacon's coming up, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, we for those that don't remember, and for those that actually listen, which there might be one of you, I'm looking at you, Mari. I'm not literally looking at you now. I'm literally looking at you. The last film we watched was The Punisher, and that's what we'll talk about later. I meant to mention that when we first started.
The 1980s
The
Punisher.
1989 one with Dolph Lundgren. But anyway, what have you been up to?
Also working.
Yeah, with your hardcore Republicans, you know.
Oof. They don't like transgenders at all. They don't like gay people, but they especially don't like the transgenders. Like,
you gotta watch your Southern privilege there. You put "the" in front of transgenders.
they don't like the homosexuals. No, they are.
I don't. I don't want to go on another rant about your employees because we did it last time.
Yeah.
And I will just end it on why the fuck does it matter to them? It's the same thing that we see with like politicians who are like, I'm not gonna vote for, you know, separate restrooms for transgenders or stuff like this, or, you know, I don't want to vote for, you know, gay protection rights and all this stuff, and then you find out like a year later that they were secretly like importing Colombian love boys into DC or something. Like, it's always the people that hide what they are that have the most objections to just a general sense of equality. Like, I don't believe in African American rights. Meanwhile, where's my mistress? Like,
yep.
It's all horse shit. But anyway, other than work, you seen any movies other than the one we're going to talk about?
I saw Shazam.
So did I. We can talk about Shazam.
Shazam. What did you think?
I fucking loved it.
It was
like,
me too. I'm glad you liked it because I'm like, this is a fun movie.
Honestly, I'm really glad you saw it because I was going to mention Shazam, and I'm sure Mario will talk about it too. But I went into Shazam with absolutely, actually, I probably went into it with negative expectations. We saw it with her brother John, and right before we went in, you know, I generally ask people like, you know, what do you think it's going to be? Give it a rating before we see it. And he gave it an 8. I think I gave it like a 6.
We both said 6.
Yeah, like a 6. And by the time I left that film, I will comfortably say an 8, maybe an 8.5 if we're talking comic book ratings. I almost every single thing about that movie was spot on for me. The humor, the pacing was one thing I had a little problem with.
Yeah, there was bits where it could have been like, you could have trimmed that just a little bit, but
yeah, the pacing with the combat was a little bit of an issue for me. I don't feel like there was enough actual superhero combat. It was more almost gimmick fighting, if you want to call it that, where like you're seeing them use one of their abilities to like save people or to like hold up the not the Eiffel Tower. What's the word I'm looking for? Fucking Ferris wheel. Or like, I didn't see enough actual combat, which I would have liked. But I can almost excuse that because to me this felt more like a comedy than an action film.
I think it was meant to be more of a comedy thing with action kind of, I don't know, taking a maybe a side seat just a little bit. And I'm okay with that because I had it up to here with gritty, dark DC movies. So like that this and Aquaman were like both really fun movies.
I still haven't seen Aquaman. We actually went to the theater and like they had the poster up for it, and I was like, I'm probably just gonna download that and watch it at this point. What the fuck was I gonna say before this? You started talking about some shit. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask, do you watch Red Letter Media? The YouTube channel?
I know of it, but I've never seen any of the videos.
I'm gonna introduce you to them because they're one of my favorite channels, but their view on Shazam when compared to the other movies. I haven't watched their Aquaman one yet, like all the way through, but it's pretty much the same thing that we're seeing here. Like that this transition works a lot better for them than what was happening before. In other words, don't let Zack Snyder make any more DC movies.
Yeah.
Let these other people make DC movies. Which, the guy that did this one did Annabelle, the Annabelle creation, which is why you saw the little Annabelle doll in the pawn shop in the beginning of the Shazam movie. It was down in the corner. But yeah, the comedy in this was spot on. The kid that played Billy Batson, I really enjoyed. You know, acting might have been a little dry here and there.
Sure.
But I felt like for a kid that was essentially carrying a good part of that movie up until Zach Levi showed up, he did pretty good. I like the other kids. I felt like there was kind of a weird balance with them. Like some of them we saw more of than others.
Yeah. I would have been. I would have liked to have seen more angry gamer Asian child. I really liked him.
Yeah, I liked all of them.
Yeah, it was great.
I love that the father actually was in *Halt and Catch Fire*. Did you catch that?
Is that where I've seen him from? I kept meaning to look it up because I was like, I've seen that fucking dude before. Where have I seen him? It was *Halt and Catch Fire*. He was one of the programmers that worked with Cameron when she started Mutiny. Yeah.
And then left Mutiny because it wasn't making any money, and then came back when Mutiny was making money.
Like, I knew I had seen him before, and I could just not place it to save my life. But yeah, that's...
The minute I saw him, I was like, this is the only other thing I've seen this guy in. That's awesome. The kid that played the brother who was, like, handicapped, he was kind of annoying at first.
Oh, that plays Freddy?
The Freddy is that character? His name?
Yeah, in the movie, yeah, that character's name is Freddy.
Yeah, in the beginning, he kind of annoyed me a little bit, but over the course of the movie, he kind of started to grow on me. Yeah, like, the humor for this was spot on. Honestly, my favorite part of it was probably Zach Levi. And, Mark, the villain's name. I'm gonna go look this up. I'm gonna punch myself for not remembering this because he was in Kingsman.
Name either, but I don't tend to look up stuff as much as you do. Or I'll forget. That movie was so good. I'm really pleased with it.
Mark Strong, that's his name.
Okay.
He was in Kingsman, the one in the second one who blew himself up to save him while listening to Elton John.
Spoilers. But yeah,
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, that movie's been out for like a couple years.
Yeah.
Just preface this. Just assume spoiler warning for beginning and end, a beginning to the end of each podcast we do.
Yeah, so I think they did confirm a sequel for this because it had almost no budget. I mean, it was like millions of dollars, but comparatively to like the other DC comic films, this was a shoestring budget, and I think it made most of it back in like its opening weekend.
And I was talking about that with Misty. I was like, I feel like this movie had a low budget. Like, I didn't look it up and everything. I'm just like, you could just kind of feel that they made the most with what they had to work with. And just didn't go out crazy. Like you look at Aquaman, you could feel the money flowing around. Everyone's hair's floating around.
That's what happens when you have James Wan and you're like, you know what? Just go make a movie. I need $100 million for a CGI combat scene underwater.
Yeah, that whole movie was money. But this one, I'm like, you know what? It felt a little bit more low budget. Not in a bad way. Just, you could feel it.
I think the director's name was David Sandberg. I know it's Sandberg, but I'm almost certain it's David Sandberg. I know he took this on as something of a passion project, and so did Zach Levi. Like, he, in interviews, like even going back to when he was first announced to play Shazam, said that this was like one of his childhood things. He wanted to be, quote, Captain Marvel / Shazam, because that's a whole thing.
Yeah, it is a whole
what
thing.
was really interesting, did you catch in the credits that The Rock was one of the executive producers in this?
I did not see that, no.
Yeah, because remember the rumor was originally that he was going to play Shazam?
Yeah, and I would have been good. I would have been good with that. I'm actually kind of surprised. I don't know a whole lot about Shazam. He's Shazam / Captain Marvel, whatever. He and like the Marvel family will show up in a lot of the comics that I've read, but I haven't read any like starring comics for the starring like the Marvels. But I'm kind of surprised they didn't go with, and they might do it for the sequel, but they didn't go with Black Adam as the bad guy.
Well, did you watch the post-credit stuff?
Yes. Like, I saw the fucking worm that I can't remember the name of.
Yeah, he's probably going to be the villain in the next one. I have no idea. I can't remember his name.
Yeah,
like,
I
looked it up.
I don't remember the worm's name.
He's like intergalactic genius worm thing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. But
I think that might be one of the reasons I kind of like this movie was I knew nothing about it.
Dude,
like,
you're not alone. Like, I've been reading comics for a while now, and I don't know that much about Captain Marvel. That is a niche-ass comic book character.
The only thing I knew about Shazam, the only thing I had known about Shazam was that often online you would see who would win in the fight, Shazam or Superman, because they're both DC. They both have like almost unlimited power range when they're going at it. So, I mean, that was pretty cool, and I'm used to the image of him in his suit, and
for a while,
I really
go ahead.
Go on. No, I was just what you're saying.
I was just gonna say, like, during the 52 event, when back when DC took chances, and there was no Superman, Batman, or Wonder Woman comics. It was like, I think it was after Infinite Crisis. In the comics, Shazam or Captain Marvel, whatever, he actually wore like a full body suit, like Superman suit that covered his face, and he just posed as Superman for a while. And people just assumed it was him. But
I did like the Superman cameo.
That was great. That was great. From the neck down is all you see.
Spoilers for Shazam now.
I love that you just what was it, Henry Cavill? I'm just like what
Henry
the
Cavill,
fuck?
Yeah.
I'm like, is it gonna show it? Nope. Just from the neck down is all you see, and I'm like, you know what, cool. I'm good with that.
I love the so I watched the Red Letter review for this. The show's called Half in the Box that they do, but I like the way they fucking described it was like the reason they didn't show his face was because they fucked up the CGI mustache again and only had half of a mustache on one part of his face and the other half of his face was non-CGI, and David Timber was like, fuck it, we're just not going to show his face.
I like that explanation.
Yeah, it's Shazam was a really, I don't want to say cute, but it's because honestly, one other thing I loved about this was how serious it got at points. Like when he went to go see his mother, that went down.
It's like, you're doing fine, right? I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, dude, that was brutal. And then he gives her back that little compass. Like that hit me. I don't know if you ever watched Fresh Prince of Bel-Air at all.
I mean, like growing up, sure, and then I've
Do you remember the episode at all where Will's dad comes back?
No, I didn't get that far when I was rewatching
that episode.
Last year.
Resonates with me possibly more than anything in television entertainment because Will, grew up without his dad. I didn't really have mine, but there's this episode where Will's dad comes back and Uncle Phil is just like not having any of it. Like, you can't be here. You're going to fuck with Will's head. And Will obviously gets caught up in it. Like, my dad's back and all this shit. And like they're supposed to go, I think, to like a basketball game or something, or to a movie. Yeah, he's supposed to take him with him on his trucking thing because his dad's like a trucker or whatever. And at the very end of the episode, like Will's ready, he's got his bags packed, and his dad is like walking out the door without him. And
he was talking to Uncle
like
Phil privately.
There's this scene where it's Uncle Phil and Will's dad, and like Will comes down the steps, like his dad like is walking out basically, and Uncle Phil's explaining to him, like you can't go with him because his dad's he's leaving him again.
Right.
And Will like breaks down and starts screaming like, I became a man without him and all this other shit. And that's the kind of feeling I got with this. Like, you go through all of this to kind of find that part of you, and it's just a complete fucking letdown. It is so not a kid's movie that is marketed as a kid's movie. And that was kind of funny to me because I know a lot of people took their kids to this, and a lot of them got angry about the scene where they started drinking, but then they spit it out, which was fucking hilarious. Because you're like, oh god, DC's going to promote, underage drinking or whatever. But a lot of the flack online was from the fact that, like, this is supposed to be a kid's movie. There's, I don't want to say, like, graphic, like, ultra violence, but there are some scenes in this that for a comic book film, definitely not kid-friendly.
Right.
And then there's the whole touching on, like, abandonment. There's some language in this, too. So I like the risks they took with this.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like a Thor Ragnarok to me, where it's just a complete shift from what we're used to.
Good.
And yeah, definitely good on them, because I'm sick of the fucking formula. Like, honestly, going from Captain Marvel to this, like, I definitely prefer where this is going. That being said, I'm sure I'm gonna fucking love Endgame.
Yeah,
but
well, you better, because there's like 3 hours of it, so
we got our fucking tickets. We're gonna be there Thursday night at, was it 10? 10:15. So
Well,
we'll be seeing it.
I can't pre-purchase tickets at my theater, even though our theater claims that it is the best. I think it was like the best independently operated, locally owned theater in the country. That is a boast before every movie that plays.
You can't pre-purchase tickets there?
As far as I know, you can. Maybe you can, but I fucking who knows?
What about the AMC there? Like, can't you buy them online for that or something?
You don't have an AMC here.
What about the one fucking that Mario was helping or whatever?
That was in Huntsville. That was in the big city.
How far is Huntsville from you? I don't know, man. You live in the
Hour?
South. I assume everything's like 10 minutes away.
No, it's like an hour. Half the time, everything is an hour further away. But yeah, Huntsville is an hour.
You better
away
get
from
on
me.
that fucking Avengers shit, because we're gonna have to talk about that.
Nah, we'll see it one night when it comes out. But yeah,
That's a broad statement. We'll see it one night when it comes out.
Yeah. We'll see it. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be opening night, but we'll definitely see it.
Yeah. But anyway, to wrap up the impromptu Shazam review that we had, definitely enjoyed it. Zach Levi was great. I will be there for the sequel. And probably favorite scene in the movie was him and Mark Strong doing that exposition in the air at the end of the movie, and Mark Strong just going on like, "I will eat your soul." Shazam is like 80 feet away, like, "I can't hear you, man. You're like a mile away."
I love that.
Saying?
I love that, because it's just like, it just brings the reality of, this is stupid. There's no way they can actually hear, and like in every other movie, they can hear each other perfectly, and video games and shit do that too. And this was like, that is amazing that they are just calling that bullshit out. I loved it so much.
It was great, and I really hope that for the next movie they can keep up that kind of humor. So we'll see. Shazam, I would just to reiterate, I would say solid 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Definite recommend from Retrotainment. So anyway, other than Shazam, you watched anything else?
I finished Pen 15.
Oh, Penis. Yes, how was
Penis? It was good.
I watched
like
that.
a lot of the show is, you know, that kind of humor we were talking about, the like the Broad City or type humor.
Oh, you actually watched that? Oh, well, fuck. Here, you talk to him about it then.
Oh, did Mari watch it as well?
Okay.
We're just going to get... Oh, Mario's just like, it's okay.
I really
was
liked
okay.
it. I finished it. A lot of it was dumb humor, but there were actually some bit, like, there was an episode, because like one character is white, the other character is like she's like half Japanese, and you know, there's of course the obligatory race episode, because these characters, even though they're like 30-year-old women playing these 13-year-old girls, you know, they're supposed to they're in like, what, middle school, whatever age you are in at 13, I guess junior high, and so like there's the obligatory racism is a thing kind of thing, and then there was like bits, one episode it touched on like divorcing parents and everything. Is very heartfelt, but like it got weirdly real sometimes, but I really liked it. I'm looking forward to the next season if there is one.
Weirdly real, like Shazam got.
Hands, lightning with my hands.
Yeah, I fucking love that part.
Yeah. But yeah, it was good.
That's pretty cool.
It's a good show. Like, if you ever get, you know, want to watch something fairly
all I want to
lighthearted
watch
for the
right
most
now
part, it's great.
comes on in about 5 hours. And that's
Oh,
fucking
is it Game of Thrones?
Yes.
Copyright.
I cannot fucking wait.
Yeah, Missy's going to be watching that in the other room. I had to restart the HBO Now, or whatever the fuck it's called, thing for her.
It's so good. I fucking love Game of Thrones. I'm kind of glad it's ending. I appreciate that
Well, it's good.
HBO kind of knew when to end this, because fucking with George R. R. Martin, that motherfucker can't write a book in his lifetime. They could have stretched this out for another 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm excited to see it go, see where it's going to wrap up, and then hopefully we get some information on the prequel series that they're developing. So.
It'll be interesting how, like, the comparisons, because how many seasons has the show gone off in its own direction since R.R. Martin hasn't written the next book? Like, how many seasons have they just been doing their own storyline?
So I have not read all of the books. I've only read the first one, and I can only tell you from what I've seen and from what I've read that the first book and the first season line up pretty well, and then in the second season right there, they already started fragmenting it a little bit and kind of doing their own thing. Game of Thrones, like, the best way to describe the series progression compared to the books and like continuity is like a zipper. If a zipper starts off lined up perfectly, just imagine like the second season is you start pulling it and you see that split, and as it goes on it's getting wider and wider and wider.
Like, it's going to be interesting to see, like, if R.R. Martin, you know, assuming he doesn't die first, finishes, what's that book series called? It's not Game of Thrones. It's like Story of Fire and Ice or something. Is that what it is?
A Song of Ice and Fire.
Thank you. If he finishes that book series,
I can never remember. Whatever, you get the idea.
Yeah.
One of those two.
If he ever finishes that book series, it'll be interesting how, like, I'm feeling like it's going to be, because I've never watched or read them, I really don't care, but it's going to be, I feel like it's going to be a Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood situation where one of them follows the manga to the T and the other anime just did whatever the fuck it wanted. So, but they both started off the same, you know?
I don't think this is me being a pessimist just based on his writing style. I don't think he's going to finish it. I think
he might not. He's an old dude.
I think that George R. R. Martin did not ever expect this series to become what it did. And you know what? I'm not nagging the man or ragging him for his talents. Clearly the man is a skilled writer, and to come up with this kind of world, he has an ability. I'm not knocking that. What I will knock is his writing ethic. So for those that don't know, these books have existed since the 80s. They've been around for a long time. Is that how long they've
been around? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they've been around for a long fucking time. First editions of
early
this book
thousands
are worth a fortune now. No. So I don't think he ever intended to completely finish this series, because I don't think that he ever saw it becoming what it did. And I think that when Game of Thrones first came out and it first got really popular, he knew he had to write more. He has written other things in this universe ever since then. I want to say 2 books have come out, maybe 1, since the series started. But he's released smaller side stories. He's put out encyclopedias, really good encyclopedias that cover a lot of the back lore of Game of Thrones.
Oh, kind of like the Lord of the Rings appendices or whatever they're called.
Yeah, we're not even going to compare those two. I love Game of Thrones to death. I love the lore. I love almost everything about it. But the world of Game of Thrones and the world of Lord of the Rings is like McDonald's and a fine restaurant.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
They are distinctly different world building experiences. And that might even be an insult to call his McDonald's. They're 2 very different types of restaurants. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, when the series first got popular, it started in 2011. I think he knew he had to write more, so he started doing some of these side stories. He started doing the encyclopedias and working on the book. But then it became this entertainment behemoth we haven't really seen in a long time. Because honestly, can you think of another fantasy series other than Lord of the Rings that's really captured global attention?
No, this is it's the biggest thing.
I think that George R. R. Martin realized something that a lot of the fans of the book series haven't quite picked up on yet, because they're assuming, like most fans of book series do, and I'm in this boat right now, that authors owe them an ending. And they don't. That's the thing. I think that David Benioff, and I forget the other guy's name that basically created Game of Thrones, a TV series. they've effectively finished his series for
They
him.
have, and like it might be a this point where there's nothing Martin could write that could live up to what the series has the TV series has probably done. I mean, I know you're like with TV series and books, you're comparing two different like mediums. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just like, it's probably the series has captured so many people's just love, and then maybe they read the books as well after the fact, like a lot of people probably do, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And like there might be no way he can possibly live up to what the TV show has accomplished with if he ever finishes it. Like people just find it disappointing, and maybe he doesn't want to do it because of that. I don't blame him.
I think what I think is going to happen is that if he ever finishes this last book, it is essentially going to be a novelization of everything that HBO has created so far.
It could be, and that's going to piss a lot of people off, but like, what else can you do?
That I think that if you look at how long this series has existed, and I will go look up the exact date right now, so I'm not speaking out of my ass here. If you look at how long the series has existed compared to like how long it's taken him to write them, so the very first book came out in 1996. Sorry, I was off by that. Wait a minute. He began writing it in 1991.
Okay, so
it was
90s.
published in 1996.
Still older than I thought. Like, I thought early thousands at best.
Martin, who initially envisioned the series as a trilogy, has published 5 of the planned 7 volumes. The 5th and most recent of the series came out in 2011. A Dance with Dragons took Martin 6 years to write. He's currently writing the 6th novel, Winds of Winter. So I didn't even know that. He has 2 more books. 2.
So
I think that what we're going to see is a novelization of events that have happened in the series that might have some tweaks to them, because there are some very big differences in the book compared to the TV series.
I just had an idea. Go ahead and finish your thought.
I just think that's what we're going to see, is going to be a novelization. I think we'll see the end of Game of Thrones. I know that HBO had announced that they're planning to work on a prequel series that goes back like 1,000 years, talks about the formation of the wall, when there was more magic in the world and all that. And I think that's going to be it. George R. R. Martin is very much a nerd, and one of the problems when nerds create things that become popular is that the nerd becomes popular. And when nerds become popular, kind of goes to their head. And you see that a lot with fantasy writers. There's one problem I have right now is an author named Scott Lynch, who created a series that I love called the Gentleman Bastard series, where he's completely stalled out on this 4th book because of, I hate calling him excuses, because he says it's anxiety, and there were things going on with his marriage, and those are completely valid things. Like, don't get me wrong, I get that anxiety is a big thing with authors because of the expectation to complete things. But much like George R. R. Martin, I find these reasons a little implausible sometimes, because Scott Lynch says he has serious anxiety when dealing with people. And then, like, we'll see tweets from him talking about how he's going to a convention and hanging out with all these people and excited to meet the fans and put on panels and do all this other stuff. And if you have social anxiety, you're not really going to conventions and hosting panels and meeting people. You're going to be nervous about that kind of shit. Same with George R. R. Martin. He talks about how he's going to, like, lock himself away in a cabin and finish his book. And then a week later, motherfucker's in, like, the New Jersey Comic-Con, like, getting paid buckets of money to fucking sign copies of books and shit. So,
dude, there's like an author that I like. I really like her books. Her name's Rob Thurman, and she does this like urban fantasy, because I read a lot of urban fantasy.
That's your thing.
Yeah, it's my thing. She writes this series that I really like. Objectively, it's probably not the best, but I really love it. But she has not written, the last book I think she wrote in the series came out like 3 years ago, and a couple months ago I'm like, man, I wonder why that new one hasn't come out. She was pumping those out pretty quickly before, and I looked it up, and apparently she kept missing deadlines and everything, But then she got on her Twitter, and it's like, I'm not getting enough. And this is why I think it's like that whole, nerds let it go to their head kind of thing. The fans have not been supporting me enough. There will be no book, and it's just like that, and then you just see comments after comments like, I've bought every single one of your books. I even have bought all the audiobooks. Like, I've supported you, and just all these people like we have supported you, Miss Thurman. Like, we have it's just like, no, I don't get enough support. Fuck you. No ending to this series. And that's, I don't know, that rubbed me the wrong way. And now I'm just kind of like, I don't even care if she ever finishes it, because that's just shit. That's a shitty thing to do.
This is why I wish that every author had the writing ethic of Brandon Sanderson, because that man is a terminator of writing. Like, how that man writes as much as he does and still has a functioning wrist astounds the hell out of me. For those that don't know who Brandon Sanderson is, and I'll make this very quick, he has a collection of fantasy novels, fantasy and I don't want to say urban fantasy. We'll just say fantasy for the hell of it. You can look up his books and determine it from there. All tied into what he calls the Cosmere. And the Cosmere is sort of like his MCU for all of his books. They all very loosely tie into each other. And this man pumps out at least a book a year in each different series that goes along. And you've got like one series is called Mistborn, there's Warbreaker, Elantris. The ones that I really like are called the Stormlight Archives. And these are big motherfucking books. We're talking like over 1,000 pages. This dude creates languages, magic systems, like all of it links together. And if you go to his website, it is all part, and I kid you not, of a 20-year plan for him to tie everything together. He does conventions. He does AMAs on Reddit. He writes stuff. He does autographing that he sells, custom autographing that he sells through his website. This man is the pinnacle of authorship to me, and I really wish that other people just had a fragment of what he does. And
go ahead, sorry.
To kind of tie this into something you might understand more, it's a lot like James S.A. Corey and The Expanse. Mm-hmm. Like, those come out pretty regularly.
Yeah, they do. They're faster than I thought.
Tiamat's Wrath.
I need it. I haven't even started it. That's the next book.
Oh my god, it's so good. You need to listen to it so I can talk to you about it.
Yeah, he's come out with those fairly quickly. Didn't like the one previous to that come out last year?
Yeah, the Expanse series I think has come out, I want to say every year except one. And I might even be wrong about that. They may have come out every year. I know that the last book comes out next year.
That reminds me of Kevin Hearn. He's like one of my favorite book series. He writes the Iron Druid Chronicles. Dude, he's probably come out, I don't know if I think a lot of them were yearly or pretty close to that, but then also in between that, he probably has about 3 books, like novel size books worth of novellas and short stories he's also done with this book series, and I think he just ended it last year, but then he's still like, yeah, I'll probably add some more to it. Also, here's another book series that's a
lot like Sanderson.
Yeah, he just fucking keeps pumping out these books, and they're all in like short stories, and they're all of quality, and I love them.
I don't want to knock authors for not having this pristine work ethic, because
no, not everyone can manage it.
Yeah,
and that's
everyone.
Fine.
I get that authors write at their own pace, but don't hold something hostage because you suddenly become famous and think that people owe as much to you as they assume you owe from them. So, write because you enjoy writing, put the series out, and if it deserves the praise you want it to have, then it's gonna find it,
I think so. This is what I kind of hope he does, right? Maybe.
Are we talking about Martin?
Martin. This is what I hope R.R. Martin does. Like, okay, I'm thinking. You say he's got 2 more books to write for the series before it's done. What if he go ahead? He has both of them finished, right? What if he has both of them finished, or maybe he has one finished in the 6th one comes out maybe in the next year or 2. What if he leaves in his will, after my death, publish the seventh volume just so he doesn't have to listen to the fans bitch that it didn't live up to the expectation. Like, what if he did that shit? That's what I would do.
Wouldn't be surprised.
At his age, I would do that 100%. I would just be like,
the next book is supposed to come out in the next year or two. So I mean, we'll
rig
see.
that rig that seventh book up to a fucking kill switch. When I am dead, release
Put it
it
on
to
a
the
Dead
world.
Man switch.
Like, I release, fucking put it on WikiLeaks or some shit. Just release it into the world.
WikiLeaks ain't around no more. We all saw what happened to Assange a few days ago.
Yeah, truth. But like, just rig that shit to release to the internet upon my death. That would be I would applaud at that.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't think I'm ever gonna read all of the books. I've considered it, just because I do Audible, and for I think those audiobooks, they do full cast adaptations. Mm-hmm. So like everyone voices their character, which is kind of cool.
That's the audiobooks you feel the fucking money. You know,
yeah.
You just
it's Game of Thrones. There's money.
There's money. They're like, everything will have high dollar value. That's yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got Stephen King reading Needful Things, where it's just him and his accent reading it for 12 hours.
I'm good with that. Fucking Stephen King has earned that for me. I'm good with it.
But yeah, so fucking we went on a tangent there talking about books for a while.
Literacy, hooray!
Yeah, there's actually, I just finished the first book in a new series I've been meaning to tell you about, called Foundry Side, by Robert something. I don't know. He's written other books before, but I've never listened to him. And Foundry Side was recommended to me by one of the new women at work, and I decimated that fucking book. It's definite fantasy, but it's almost like urban steampunk fantasy.
All right.
And it's so fucking good. It has one of the most unique magic systems I've ever seen anywhere, like cinema or books or whatever. It's scriving is what they call it, and basically you use metals and you write glyphs onto objects and alter what they perceive themselves as, or their structure. So like you could scrive wood to believe that it's as strong and resilient as steel, and
cool.
build with wood that's as strong as steel.
You placebo the metal.
You can imagine like how this can tweak into things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's such a good fucking book. If anyone ever listens to this and wants book recommendations, you should just read/listen to everything we've talked about, possibly except Game of Thrones, because this could be out in this could be on the YouTube channel in 20 years, and the next book may still not be out. But
are you generally okay with something not ending? Or is it, if something doesn't end, are you just like, does it just piss you off to no end? Like, is a ending required for you to enjoy the series?
I will say no with one caveat to this. I'm okay with a series not ending if the material that precedes it can stand on its own to some sense. Okay. Like, I don't want a book that's going to end with an obvious cliffhanger, like Jack jumped down the hole and knew he was about to face his destiny. Cut to book 3 that never comes out. What the fuck happened to Jack? But like, if you end a book or even a movie or a TV show in such a way that like ambiguously leaves room for expansion but leaves me feeling satisfied at the end of it, I'm okay with that, you know?
Cause like I feel like that is the ending. And a lot of people, I'm pretty sure, are afraid of this too, that I think I'm going to end up facing with Berserk, because I've been chugging through that manga, but I've never read it all before. I think I'm halfway. No, I think I maybe got like 10 to 15 more volumes left of the like the 39 or so volumes that are out, and apparently it's been on hiatus for a while there because the author is really into fucking like gal games or whatever. Like, he's really into phone games or some shit like that, or dating sims, so he just does that instead of writing Berserk. And
You have one of the most popular manga / anime in history. What are you gonna do now? I got to play me some Clash of Clans.
And apparently he claims that it's not even he's not even halfway done with the series, so we might not ever see an end to Berserk. And I've loved it so far, and I'm kind of like, man, part of me's dreading getting to the last book that's out right now, because like, when am I gonna get more? And there are people who have been to that point for years and years and years. I mean, I faced that shit with the first Berserk anime, because went a good 15 years with a cliffhanger, and not know him, like, how does he get out of the eclipse? I know he gets out of the eclipse. So I don't know.
This is all reminding me that I need to see if the second part of the first season of Baki the Grappler is up on Netflix.
It's not.
I think it is.
You can just read the apparently that follows the manga super well.
I'm not going to. I'm just going to watch it because it's ridiculous.
It's fair.
The fact that last episode ended with the one cop and like the guy in the car just going, "I'll give you all the candy you can eat." Yeah, I'm totally going to fucking watch and see what happens.
Baki was a fever dream. But
oh my god. Madness.
Yeah,
absolute madness.
Fucking Berserk, man. Favorite anime, favorite manga of all time. And I'm just like, am I in for a world of hurt at the end? I don't know. So we'll...
Speaking of a world of hurt, I think it's time we talk about The Punisher.
But Josh, we never talked about video games.
We didn't talk about video games. You know what? I'm okay with that.
But Josh, I want to talk about Tomb Raider.
What about Tomb Raider?
They were all three of the reboots were on sale, and I bought them.
I did not play the newest one.
It was pretty good because I actually I finished it right before I got in here. I bought all three and played all three of them back to back.
I considered buying the third one, but I was so bitter with the first game how it fucked my save file over after I'd put like 12 hours into it.
I thought you played through that game like 3 times.
I did. I've beaten the first, well, not the first Tomb Raider, but the first reboot of Tomb Raider probably 7 or 8 times. But I was trophy farming on the PlayStation and just going through it again on that for the first time because I'd played it on the Xbox. And when you get to the part where you're on the beach after the plane crashes and you're sliding down that, like you're sliding down the mountain or whatever. Yeah, my save file just fucked.
Wow.
I was like, I'm done. So.
I really like the first, we'll call it of the reboot series or the Survivor series. I really like that one. That was probably my favorite. The second one was not. The second one's the weakest of the series. I don't know if you ever played it.
I did. I like the second one. I wasn't like enamored with it.
Yeah, like. Well, I playing these all back to back, so I'm really able to compare them 1-to-1.
And I have not played Laura in the Jungle yet, so.
And that's the one I just finished. I think that's probably the second one. I think the first one's my favorite because it has my favorite setting. You know, it has like World War II barracks, fucking feudal Japan, structure, like buildings and everything. It's got fucking undead samurai. It's got shipwrecks and plane crashes and shit. That's probably, so I think the first one's my favorite for that. Plus it has the best narrative. Like Laura is actually, you know, she has a goal to save her friends and, you know, how she's
from
becoming
Japanese sun goddess.
That whole like a survivor is born kind of narrative that it does kind of like a good 3-act structure. The second one, I was just ready for it to be done. That's once I got to the end.
What I really enjoyed about the second one was exploring the mansion.
I really liked that one. That was
really
my favorite part. My favorite part of the game wasn't even a part of the main part of the game.
Yeah, exploring the mansion was really good. Like I said, never played the third one. I haven't seen the movie, but I know they like the other day they just greenlit a sequel to that. So
the movie
did you
was
see the
all right.
movie?
Yeah, the movie was all right. Like
starring Alicia Vikander.
It wasn't, you know, as video game movies go, it was a pretty good one.
Was it better than the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider?
God, yes.
That one had Angelina Jolie hanging upside down, and 15-year-old me distinctly remembers Angelina Jolie hanging upside down. Do you know why?
And I are on two
tits.
Different wavelengths. The third one.
Were looking at the men.
The third movie, or I'm sorry, the third game was really good. I kind of wish it had shifted. It was a whole lot of like Mayan ruins, and that's pretty
Yeah.
like the scenery did not change very much, which kind of sucked. But like
I hadn't read a lot of reviews of this because I had wanted to play it, but the thing I read was like one of the big shifts in the game was in the first game, Laura was almost visibly upset killing people. And
yeah, like
in the game you still kill a lot of people in them.
not as
and even
much. Okay, well, go ahead and finish your thought because there's like an asterisk to it.
Yeah, so like she was upset having to kill, like it didn't sit well with her. And then in the second game, obviously, she's become a little more hardened toward this. And then in the third game, it's just, from what I'd read, it's like a murder fest.
So, kind of. All right, so from game 2 to game 3, from Rise to Shadow, they don't put as much of an emphasis on, like, combat. Like, you still will fight, groups of dudes, but in the second game, it felt like that's what most of it was. In the third one, they really focused more on the exploration and the climbing and everything, which still kind of works half the time when you're trying to fucking grapple on a wall and she just doesn't grapple it. So the combat, there aren't as many like, here's a group of dudes, fucking cut a swath through their ranks in the third game. But instead, like, and this isn't really a spoiler, in the very beginning of Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Laura's just like, I will take this artifact. Oh no, I unleashed a cataclysm on, this part of the world. So like she basically creates a cataclysm that kills all this entire town, all these innocent people, and it is 100% her fault. She did it. And I was talking about this on like someone I follow on Twitter, and I was like, yeah, my first impression of the game is like, Laura's kind of a murdering jerk. And they were like, it helps if you put your headcanon for Laura as she's kind of like a high functioning autistic, like, not in an insulting way. I'm not like, fuck autistic people. But if you imagine her as like,
this character's a murdering jerk. If you put him on the spectrum, it makes
it
perfect
works, though.
fucking
it
sense.
Fucking works. I'm like, all right, if I mentally put Laura on the spectrum, whereas she is super hyper focused and good at like knowing, having all this historical knowledge and being really good at these things, like, it kind of makes more sense, and it kind of does. Like, if you put Laura on the spectrum, her motives make more sense. I'm going
to go out on a limb and say that even though I have not played this game, I'm going to disagree with that statement, because I don't think putting someone on the spectrum makes murder more reasonable.
For her, maybe. In her like, her best friend, remember Jonah, the big Samoan dude?
Yeah.
He's in this, and he plays like much more of a role, and like, he's like,
his role seems kind of like slowly ramped up over the course of the game.
Like,
in the first game, he was in the background. The second game, he was there a little bit more. So that's
he
cool.
has much more of a role, and then even he's like, Laura, what you are doing, it is not the important thing. We should really save these people. No, Jonah, no. I am the only person who can do this. Laura, you're not the only. No, Laura, no, Jonah, it must be me. I must do it. And he's just like, fine.
Meanwhile, Nathan Drake is just sitting in a bar down the street going, I could totally handle this.
There was also this weird sense where I was also like, man, fuck the political climate making me think of shit like this now. Where it's just like, Laura's the only white person in this entire game. And it's like, Laura, you have succeeded where none of my people could. And it's just like, thank you, white person. You have saved the day where
British Anglo-Caucasian female explorer scientist saves indigenous tribe people from their own murder.
She's the only white person in that whole game. And I was just like, God damn it. Why am I so woke now? Ugh. But yeah, that was that. I really enjoyed the game, but first one was still the best.
It's a good wrap up.
Yeah.
So let's summarize this. Lara Croft's an autistic murderer. Zach is woke. 8 out of 10.
Oh God, fucking! I hate this timeline.
Oh man, yeah. I need to play it at some point.
It's good. It goes on sale a lot.
now, but like I said, man, Division has got me by the dick. It's so good.
It
We've
goes on
recorded,
sale
what,
pretty regularly.
3 or 4 episodes, and I'm still playing it.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
eventually, I will get to other games.
Dude, you could probably pick it up for $20 on sale sometime. It goes on sale a lot.
So, speaking of going on sale, The Punisher.
The Punisher, yeah. Let's talk about
really,
The Punisher.
Didn't really have a lead in. We're an hour into this. We got to talk about the movie. So,
do we have to talk about this movie?
We watched it on YouTube because it was free.
Because,
actually,
Josh, this movie, the 80s Punisher, streams nowhere. You can only buy it on DVD. You cannot buy it digitally. But someone uploaded it on YouTube for free. Some just random person uploaded on YouTube with a good quality and everything. It's still up as far as I know. I could probably look it up right now. It's still up.
I looked it up and I actually figured out why. And I did not know this. And this is interesting fact number 1 about this movie.
Yeah, please, because I was wondering why this movie just no one gives a fuck about even streaming it.
It never aired in the United States theatrically.
What? Oh, it didn't?
No, it didn't. What happened was this movie was made by a company called New World. And it was released overseas in Australia, New Zealand, and parts of the UK, and I want to say parts of Asia. But the company went under in the US before it could actually premiere. This movie wasn't shown until, like, I think it was the early 2000s, when the director himself took his own, print of the film and showed it at a Dolph Lundgren convention.
So that was the first, like, big showing in the States?
Yeah, so I mean, like, other companies had, it went straight to DVD Laserdisc, or went straight to Laserdisc VHS in the early 90s. It might have actually been like 91. But it never had a theatrical release, so nobody ever owned the theatrical rights to this. As for why it's not streaming now, I just don't think anyone's able to buy it because there are no direct rights to it. So that's why it's up on YouTube. Nobody really can claim anything. So in theory, we could totally MST3K this movie and legally get away with it. Yeah, it's there were quite a few interesting facts about this film that I looked up.
Lay 'em on
I think the biggest one for me was the composer for the movie. Like, the soundtrack itself wasn't really anything spectacular. It was very 80s. But the guy that did this, his name is Dennis Drath. He has worked uncredited with John Williams, Dominic Frontier, Mark Shaman, Hans Zimmer on Jurassic Park, Misery, Braveheart, Addams Family, A League of Their Own, and tons of other, like, films we've all heard of. He's just done composing work for these, and his one of his starts in Hollywood was The Punisher. Yeah. Dolph Lundgren did most of his stunts. I looked that up.
Wasn't this one of his first movies? Like,
I think so.
Like, super early?
Yeah, I think it was definitely one of his first ones.
Let me pop open this IMDb while you talk.
The one of the things that I found pretty interesting was so toward the end of the movie, we'll talk about the movie, but toward the end of the movie, there's a fight scene with him and 2 like Japanese actors who spoke no English. They had to have translators on the sets. But according to their code of honor, and I swear to Christ, I'm not making this up, I read this through the fact sheet on IMDb, they could not use stunt doubles. Everyone had to act on their own in this. So most of the fight scenes in this were done by the Japanese actors and Dolph Lundgren. So, yeah. And one of the not as interesting facts is when the detective, Louis Gossett Jr., they go back to his, like, police precinct and his female partner's there for the first time. Remember when he shows her the map with the pins in it of where, like, all the places were that he's killed people? I never picked up on this. That's a map of Seattle. It's not even a map of New York, which is where the movie takes place. But so to summarize this movie for you real quick, it's The Punisher. Fucking Frank Castle, war veteran, special forces veteran, Vietnam, comes back home. His wife and kids are wife and kid. Kids. He had
kids,
2, right?
Maybe kids. I don't know. I think it's kids. I think he always has like a couple in all the continuities.
Gunned down in a hit and run by various mafiosi type.
By one of them Italian mafias.
Now, the story itself has changed over time between it being a hit and run, like them dying by accident, and them being targeted.
Yeah,
now,
being
this
targeted or like gunned down as a part of some unrelated hit or whatever. Frank Castle's family always dies because you can't have the Punisher unless the Punisher's family dies,
That's all you have to know is his wife and kids died. He's out murdering criminals to balance the books. In this one, I couldn't really tell what happened. I think they were killed by accident.
Yeah.
That's what it seemed like.
Yeah.
This movie feels like nobody ran it through a post-edit.
I don't think they did. It's an entire...
You watch the whole thing. It's
like
just
an hour and a half
cut
cutscene. Or, I mean, it's an hour and a half action scene. That's what this movie is. It barely takes breaks.
The movie starts off with multiple people dying by foot knife to start off. Like, there's a lot of foot-based weaponry in this movie. And this one of the scenes I love the most in this is the very beginning when they're in the house and like this mafioso guy gets out of prison, right? And they're like, "How are you going to deal with the Punisher? He's been killing all your associates or whatever."
Let it go.
Like he gets
bitch.
out of jail, they're interviewing him. He's just like, "I'm not fucking scared of the Punisher. What's he gonna fucking do to me? He's killed 120 of my other associates. There's no possible way he's gonna kill me." Goes home, tells his guys like get everything ready. One of them dies in like a room of mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
Another one, like I said, gets foot knifed. The guy gets hung from the balcony, and they're like all these reporters outside of the house, like swarming around to talk to this guy, and the house just fucking blows up. Mm-hmm. In the meanwhile, what I thought was hilarious in the background, you hear this like female news reporter just going, "Get the shot, get closer, get video of it." Oh my god, this movie was so fucking bad.
I think it has something like a 20 something rating on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that.
I mean, honestly, what do you expect from comic-based film in the 80s with Dolph Lundgren? It is essentially Sewer Bike the musical.
Pretty much. That's because I was like, the only thing I remember from this movie was the Sewer Bike. And it looks like this is his Punisher was his fifth movie. He was in A View to a Kill, then Rocky 4, then Masters of the Universe He-Man, then Red Scorpion. And then,
fuck yeah, Red Scorpion. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so this was like his fifth movie.
It's I do know that they had to alter some of the lines for him to be able to say them because his English wasn't like super fluent by now.
I don't even know where Dolph Lundgren is from.
I just assume Russia.
Is it
Rocky?
Is it Russia?
Russian. No, I don't.
I've never actually looked it up.
It doesn't fucking matter where Dolph Lundgren's from. We're talking about the Punisher. So, the plot of this story is, Punisher's out getting revenge. Louis Gossett Jr. is this detective that's been hunting him down, and he doesn't want a partner, but now he's got to partner up with this female that has been studying the Punisher. And it's the 80s. It's the cop who doesn't want to partner with a partner. You got that going on. The Punisher is hunting down criminals. You got that going on. And then you have this other side story where the Japanese Yakuza are encroaching into New York to take over from the Italian families. And it's another like late 80s popular sentiment. And it's that, Japan was the evil back then because, business corporations and them taking over American corporations. I mentioned this the other day. Mari and I were watching the Red Letter review of RoboCop, the first one. And, obviously, fucking first RoboCop, everybody loves it. If you don't love the first RoboCop, I don't understand how you can breathe.
If you don't like it, then you can get out.
The second RoboCop is actually good. I like the second RoboCop. It's really funny. But the third one is god-awful, and the third one does... It's talks a lot about, like, how OCP, the company, is taken over by this other Japanese corporation. And that's the trend in a lot of movies in the late 80s, early to mid 90s, was Japan's evil because corporate entities are taking over. And that's basically what's happening with this, only instead of a corporate entity, it's the fucking Yakuza.
Japan's economy, didn't the bottom just fall out in the 80s or something like that?
Part of the retail market did, but there was still a lot of like general business success in the 80s. Like,
okay.
Yeah, you're talking about like the Lost Generation and all that
shit. Yeah,
like,
Lost Generation.
You're thinking Yakuza 0, aren't you?
So,
yeah. So, yeah, like Japan, the Yakuza comes in, starts murdering all these mafioso guys, and the head of the Yakuza comes in and tells one of the last guys remaining, like, you're going to give us most of your business. We're going to let you operate, and that's it. So he starts plotting against, the Yakuza, and they kidnap their kids, which is, like, I love the scene where the guy's son gets kidnapped, because the kid goes up to this limo from school. It's just like, you were late. Japanese guy, like, opens the door, just pulls him into the car. So they kidnap all their kids, take them to a warehouse, and tell them that they're going to start killing them if they don't cooperate with them. And then, spoiler, the Yakuza still fucking kill half of the mafioso in this. So the big bad mafia leader guy reluctantly teams up with the Punisher. Punisher reluctantly teams up with him, I should say, to go after the Yakuza to save these kids. And it's... Look, I could tell you the rest of this story, but it doesn't fucking matter.
That is the plot. That is the most plot there is in this movie.
The way it ends up is the Punisher saves the kids. They fight the Yakuza in stereotypical 80s fashion inside of what appears to be like a dojo with
with the tabby mats and everything.
The paper walls and all this shit.
Red light for some reason.
Yeah, there's a fucking red alert light in this building for some fucking unknown reason. There's this at the end of the movie. There's the obvious betrayal where the mafia guy turns on Frank Castle, who's been injured. He's like, I can't let you out of here. You're gonna come after me. And the mafia guy's son is just like, no, you can't do this. He saved us. And mafia guy smacks the shit out of his son. Like, this, who I felt the worst in this movie for that kid, because like his dad's a fucking abusive shit. Frank Castle murders the shit out of his dad at the end because they're getting into a scuffle, and Punisher's defending himself and kills him. He watches him die and then looks up at the Punisher and goes, I'm gonna get you. And then there's this exposition with Dolph Lundgren where he takes the gun and gives it to him. He's just like, do it. Just fucking do it. Kill me. Be a man. You're better than this. That verbatim is the exposition at the end of The Punisher. It's just one scene jumping to another. It's so hard to follow almost anything in this movie because it's just scene, dialogue, cut. Nothing flows naturally.
No, it doesn't.
The only good things to come out of this movie, in my opinion, were the drunk guy.
Oh, yeah, the drunk thespian.
Yeah, who was giving him, like, recon information or something.
Yeah, for reasons.
And the scene where he just shoots the shit out of a Yakuza casino. Like, just goes in with a minigun and, like, not a minigun, but, like, a machine gun and just lights into it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Josh, that you didn't also care for Dolph Lundgren's nice Dolph Lundgren ass in, like, the first fucking sewer scene.
Nah, I'm good.
Sweaty Dolph Lundgren sitting, fucking naked Dolph Lundgren just sitting there meditating or something for reasons.
There was a fact that I read that Dolph Lundgren sweated a lot during the filming of this, and that during the torture scene specifically, they had to constantly wipe him down.
Sweaty Dolph Lundgren.
There was one other thing I forgot. The main female character, like the Japanese one in this that ran the Yakuza, apparently she was a little obsessed with Dolph Lundgren. And the scene where, like, she's got him tied up or whatever and, like, touches his abs or whatever, it's completely unscripted. She just wanted to do that.
I mean, can you blame her, Josh? Dolph Lundgren's a sexy man, or at least
I can, because that's still harassment, Zach. I don't tolerate that. Punisher be damned.
This was the 80s. There was no such thing.
It's true. You could still slap someone's ass and get away with it. This movie was bad. I knew it was going to be bad. I don't really know what else I was expecting. It's not like I pick movies for them to be good. So, yeah, I don't even know what to rate this. I would say 2 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd give it about a 2.
And even that's being kind of generous just because I like 80s
I'll
movies.
give it a point for sweaty Dolph Lundgren ass. That's about it.
You know what? That's fair. 1 for each cheek.
There you go. It gets a 2.
So, we could have talked more. I mean, do you wanna go on about this? Is there anything you wanted to discuss about it? Because I just kind of
about the movie. No, not really. That's there's not a whole lot to say. Like I said, it was like a hour and a half action scene. That's
yeah, and it's like you said, it's all on YouTube if you want to go watch it. At least it was when we watched it. But I think that upload had been up for a while, so I don't think it's going anywhere. Yeah. So that's The Punisher. You know, kind of disappointing coming from The Perfect Host to that, because I had my issues with The Perfect Host, but at least I enjoyed it. You know, this movie, I just felt like I wasted my time.
Well, you picked it. But don't worry, Josh, because I've picked us a new movie.
I was going to say a new one.
Josh, with the exception of The Punisher, we've watched a lot of quality movies, and frankly, I'm sick of it.
All right.
That is why, piggybacking off of The Punisher, the role of Nancy Everhard, is that her last name? Did I do that right? Yeah. Evan.
Who
Hart.
was she in the movie?
Hart.
Do you know?
Nancy Evanhart. She was. Fuck, I've forgotten. It's been like 2 weeks since I watched it. But she was Sam Lenny. Who's fucking that in the?
Sam Leary.
Rather.
Is that the female detective?
I think so.
I don't know. In this scene, she just kind of looks like a prostitute.
Yeah. Yeah, she does. God, it's been like 2 weeks. I should have remembered.
Well, anyway, what did you pick?
I've picked, and it's on, and don't worry, Josh, because it's on Amazon Prime Video. If you got that.
All right.
Fucking Deep Star 6.
Deep Star 6 is our next movie. All right.
1989. We're keeping it with the year. Deep Star 6.
Staying in the 80s. All right.
I think it is a undersea creature movie. So,
Deep Star 6.
And I have a weird love of either like space or underwater creature movies where the humans are all like trapped in their breaking habitat or whatever. I fucking love those movies. So, and I've never seen this one. So, Deep Star 6. Get ready for a shit show.
Our next one, we may or may not discuss Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, probably will.
On the next one, we'll see what happens. But we're gonna end this one here. Zach, do your thing.
Goodbye, and stay classy.
We will see you guys with Deep Star
6. Bye.
Bye.